Hey guys, it's Milan from Quick Reference, and today I'm going to be showing you how to store stuff with NSUserDefaults. So basically permanent storage in iOS Swift applications. So what I've done here is I've set up a label in the main storyboard and a button. The label is going to display the high score, and the button is just going to increment the high score by 1. And I'm going to demonstrate that when we turn off the application, the label, and then turn it back on again, the label will still hold the last high score. Here in the view controller, I have the label here as an outlet, and I have the button as an action. So the first thing we need to do is actually set up our interface with the database, the NSUserDefaults database. So what we're going to say here is let defaults equals NSUserDefaults.StandardDefaults, just like that. And now we need two functions. You don't really need them, but they're a good abstraction layer, and I recommend always using these kind of functions so you don't always have to, everywhere you want to set the defaults and get the defaults, you don't need to actually play around with NSUserDefaults. So I'll show you what I mean here. We're going to have one function called set high score, and that's going to take HS as an int, and what it's going to do is say defaults dot set integer, and then the integer is going to be HS, and the key is going to be high score. So we pass it in an integer, and it sets that integer at under high score, because basically defaults is just a dictionary, a permanent storage dictionary. And then we need a function get high score, and it's going to return an int, which is the current high score. And all we're going to do is return defaults dot integer for key, and then the same key we use to set it, so high score. So here we take an integer and we put it in defaults under this key. And then here, when we're getting the high score, we go into defaults and we look for what has this key, and then we're going to return that. If we haven't set it yet and we try to get it with integer for key, it's going to return the base value of what we're trying to get. So since it's an integer, it's going to return 0 if there's nothing in there already. If it's a string, it's going to return an empty string, I believe, etc. Now, every time the view loads, we want to set the label to be the current high score. So we're going to say label text equals string get high score, just like that. And then every time we press the button, we want to increment the high score by 1. So here we're going to say let new HS equals get high score plus 1. So it's going to get the current high score, and it's going to append 1 to it. Then we want to set that high score. So set high score, new HS, and then we're going to set the label again. Label.text equals string get, new high score. Okay, so you see here, this is why I recommend having these kind of functions, because if I didn't have these functions, I'd have to like take this and copy it everywhere, and there's a chance that I could get the string wrong, etc. So it's always nice to have these kind of abstracted functions. So I'm just going to run this, and while it compiles, I'm going to explain to you what you can and can't store in NSUserDefaults. This is everything you can store in NSUserDefaults. So you can store strings, any kind of number, double float integer. You can store dictionaries, data, and arrays. Now you may be thinking, well, what the hell can't I store then? You can't store your own classes. So it's not like core data where you can store anything. You can't really store your own classes. It just won't let you. Even if you want to be like cheeky and you want to put like an array of your own classes, an NS array of your own classes, it won't let you do that. If you want to store an NS array, it still has to have these kind of core data types. So that's what you can and can't store in NSUserDefaults. Again, if you want to do something more complicated, you should use core data. I might do a tutorial on that a bit later. So we can see currently the high score is 0. That's because it got the high score and it saw that there was nothing for this key, and then it just returned the base, which is 0 for integers. Now we press 1 up a couple of times, and so our current high score is 7. Then if we turn it off and run it again, it should say 7 again. Yeah, while that is loading, here we go. So there you go. See, it's 7. So that's how that's done. So basically, defaults, you need to initiate it. NSUserDefaults to standard defaults, and then you treat it just like a dictionary. So you set things for different keys. See here, if I wanted to like set something like an array, I'll say defaults.set. I don't know if it has set array, but it has set value. So value, and then you can put the array here, and then you put the key over here. And then here, if you want to like get an array, defaults.array for key, and you can do that for doubles and floats and whatever else you want to store, if it's not your own class, etc. Okay, thanks very much for watching. Code's going to be in a paste bin in the description, and I'd like to let you guys know if there's anything you are curious about in Swift or any other language, maybe put it down in the comments. I might do a video on that. Thanks very much for watching.